going to look at something called the HCF, which stands for the highest common factor. And you find the highest common factor usually of a pair of numbers, but sometimes it can be 3 numbers or maybe even more numbers to find it. Now really you just have to remember what each of these words mean. First of all, the factors of the number are the numbers that multiply to give you the number. So for example, the factors of 48, you could say 2 and 24 because 2 times 24 is 48. Common means that they would have to be a factor that both of the numbers have. And highest means that not only do they both need to have it, but we want to select the one that is the highest out of those 2 things that we've got there. So factors means 2 numbers that multiply together to give the number that we're looking at. Common means that they both need to have them, and highest, obviously we're going to pick the one that is the highest. So there are 3 different methods. I would say that some numbers, just listing the factors or just kind of spotting the factors. Number 2 is the table method, which is my favourite one. And then number 3 uses the prime factors that we've just been doing on the previous page. And it's this idea of what loses in a competition, and I'll explain that when we get to it. So let's have a look at listing of the factors. So I'm going to take 48 and I'm going to list the factors. Well, the best way to do this is kind of go through the integers. So first of all, you could have 1 multiplied by 48. They kind of come as a pair. It's also got 2, and it's 2 times 24 that gives me 48. Now, I know that it's divisible by 3 because 8 plus 4 is 12, which is divisible by 3. If you want to watch my first video on this playlist about divisibility, it will help you. And it's going to be 3 multiplied by, well, if you want, you can just do a quick division. 3 goes into 4 once, and 3 goes into 18 6 times, so it's 3 multiplied by 16. It's going to be divisible by 4, and it's going to be 4 times 12. It's not divisible by 5. It is divisible by 6 because it's divisible by 2 and 3. And it's going to be 6 multiplied by 8. And it's not going to be in the 7 times table. And if you do the 8 times table, you'll get 8 with 6, and you keep going backwards. So this is all of the numbers that we've got here. Now we do the same thing for 60. So 60 is 1 multiplied by 60, 2 multiplied by 30, 3 multiplied by 20, 4 times by 15. It's in the 5 times table, it's 5 times 12. It's in the 6 times table, which is 6 times 10. It's not in the 7 times table. It's not in the 8 times table. And it is not in the 9 times table. But then when we come back to the 10 times table, we know that we've got them. So we are looking for the one that we've done all the factors. We're now going to find the ones they have in common. And then we're looking for the highest one. So I'm going to begin by highlighting the ones they have in common. So they've both got a 1. They've both got a 2. They've both got a 3. They've both got a 4. And they've both got a 6. It looks like they both have a 12, and I think that is all that we've got in common for these ones. So I'd say the one that is the highest common factor is therefore going to be the 12. So the answer of the highest common factor of 48 and 60 is 12. That is method 1, the listing method. Let's have a look at the table method and see what's going on with this one. So with the table method, what we do is we take the 2 numbers we're trying to find the highest common factor of, which is 48 and 16. And then down the side here, what we're going to do is we're going to write some factors. You don't need to write this word factors, okay? You're going to think to yourself, what number can I divide both 48 and 60 by? What times table are they both in? And a pretty obvious times table that they're both in is the 2 times table. So in this line here, I'm going to be doing 48 divided by 2, and I'm going to be doing 60 divided by 2. Obviously, you don't write this down. This is just my notes of what's going on here. So 48 divided by 2 is 24, and 60 divided by 2 is 30. Now we're going to do this same process. We're going to look at the 24 and the 30, and we're going to see what they can both be divided by. Now, you wouldn't usually go for a big number, but if you can't spot what the big number is, that's absolutely fine. But hopefully you can spot that they are in the 6 times table. Let's do a 6 then outside the front. So in this line, I'm going to be doing a 24 divided by 6, which is 4. And then I'm going to be doing a 30 divided by 6, which is 5. Now, there's nothing that 4 and 5 that can be divided by the same number apart from 1. But if I put 1 here, I would have 4 divided by 1 and 5 divided by 1. And it's just kind of pointless, really. So we stop at this stage because there are no more common factors. So there are no more common factors other than 1. So we stop. Then the highest common factor, you take these two numbers and you multiply them. So the highest common factor is 2 times 6, which is 12. So what you do for the highest common factor, you multiply these. Now very quickly, if we did it in a slightly slower way, if I divided it by 2 to get 24 and 30, I divided it by 2 to get 12 and 15, then I divided it by 3 to get 4 and 5, you would have down here 2, 2 and 3. 2 times 2 times 3 is also 12. So even if you break it down in a different way to how I've done, you're still going to get the same answer. So let's have a look at this one that we've got here. We've got prime factors. This one, it's times what loses. Okay, so let's see if we can do this one. I'm going to explain this in just a second. The first thing that you need to do is to find the prime factor decomposition. You want to express it as a product of prime factors. And this is where maybe part A of the question has got you to do this already, and then it says what is the highest common factor. To save us some time, I'm going to do it on the calculator. So I'm going to do 48 equals shift and then fact. So 48 is 2 to the power of 4 multiplied by 3. And I'm going to do 60, I'm going to press equals, and then I'm going to press shift and fact, and I get 2 squared times 3 times 5. Now we're going to have a look at what these instructions say. It says the lowest power loses. So for the highest common factor, we're going to say what loses. The lowest power loses, and nothing loses against something. So we're going to have a look at each of these bits as like separate sections. We're going to look at the 2 section, the 3 section, and the 5 section, and we're going to find out what loses for the highest common factor. Well, it says the lowest power loses. So the highest common factor for this first part, we're going to pull down and say that the 2 squared is the loser of that battle. And then here, which one is going to lose? Well, it's actually a draw. So I guess we're going to just say if there's a draw, you're still going to say that the lowest power loses. So they've both got a power of 1. So the lowest power there is losing. And then there's a nothing here. This nothing will lose against the 5, so I'm not going to write anything down here at all. I'm just going to leave that as completely blank like this. So the highest common factor is 2 squared times 3. 2 times 2 times 3 is 12. So we've got the answer 12, 12, and 12 every single time. And in the next video, I'm going to do more examples so that you can get an idea of what's going on with maybe these 2 techniques need a little bit more thought to show you how they work. So I'm going to do some examples in the next video. Found this video helpful? Then why not drop it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. If you'd like the next video in the playlist, you can click here to be taken straight to it. And as always, wishing you the very best for all your studies.